Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second presentation in the series of student engagement and active learning. Today we have the title is No More Silence Discussion, Engaging Online Conversation with VoiceThread. Will be presented by Antonia Aleli. So please welcome.
Hi everyone. So I am thank you. Yes, I am Antonia Levy. I am the Instruction Technology and Multimedia Manager at the CUNY School of Professional Studies. I am supposed to co-present with Elena Sadko from Lehman College. Lena says hi. She says to tell you that she is on a tropical island with a coconut cocktail. No,
Actually, she wishes.
She wishes. Unfortunately, she is out sick, so she apologizes. We also said in our abstract that we're going to be here with faculty, so I'm presenting everyone today. So welcome. In this presentation, we only have 25 minutes. I will do two things. I will talk about VoiceThread as a tool to use in online education, hybrid or face-to-face classes. As a tool to have no more silent discussion. This obviously relates a lot to online education, where I don't know how many of you do that, but you use the discussion board a lot, but can be very silent. So VoiceThread as an alternative to that, but it goes way beyond that. So I'm going to show different ways that VoiceThread has been used by our faculty. And then I'm also going to introduce VoiceThread Bootcamp that we have developed together at Lehman and CUNY SPS to teach faculty in a 10-day workshop fully online how to use VoiceThread in their classes, and also how to prepare a VoiceThread presentation right away to use in their classes. Okay, so lots to cover. I also wanted to just say that this presentation is available under this URL, tinyurl.com, VoiceThread Bootcamp, if you want to. There are lots of links in here that I can't click on all of them, but you're welcome to just go there and try it out yourself. So before I get started, let me just get a quick read of the room. How many of you know what VoiceThread is? Thank you. Okay. How many of you have used it before actively in a class? Okay. So since it's a few, I'm gonna just quickly play this video. This is by VoiceThread introducing the tool. Okay, so I think it's the easiest 1-minute way of doing that.
Did you know that spoken language has been in use 20 times longer than written language? In fact, humans have been using our voices for so long that we're just naturally sophisticated vocal communicators. And yet the moment we all go online, something kind of astonishing happens. Our voices, they all disappear, and you hear nothing but crickets, and you see nothing but text. What's up with that? Did we leave our best communications tool behind us because text is better? I don't think so. We stopped using our voices to talk to each other because the internet didn't support voices. But that's just not the case anymore. Instead of texting apps, forums, or emailing, you have another option. Just grab some media, upload it, and share it, and then listen as voices are added and a conversation grows naturally over time without anyone scheduling anything. Simply put, VoiceThreading will get you back to using the most effective communications tool ever made, which will make your online meetings, presentations, or conversations more effective, but also more personal and basically more human.
Okay, so what VoiceThread basically is we always say is a multimedia slide presentation that you can add commentary to in various ways, by text, which we are trying to avoid, by audio or by webcam. You can also upload audio tools. When I say multimedia slides, the slides, as you saw, can be almost anything. You can upload your standard PowerPoint presentation, but you could also have it be a video, as you saw the biology, I assume was a biology class that was looking at flight. It could be an image, it could be a link, it could be all kinds of things that then you can talk over, and your students or whoever is watching, other users can add their commentary to it too. You also saw something, what he was doing, we call that doodling, where he was drawing on the slide while it was running. So that's also a tool that, by the way, the presenter as well as users can use. So if students have a question, they could actually also draw while they're talking or writing or typing. They can also draw on your slides. And it will only appear while their commentary is playing. Okay, so just quickly, and again, we don't have that much time. I wish I could play all this to you because then that makes sense when I talk about VoiceThread. So there are different ways that instructors have used this tool in their classes. By the way, one thing, and I'm kind of trying to follow that a little bit, one thing we recommend when you start using this, especially in online classes where you might not see your students and be able to explain questions like a person, is to use it incrementally in your classes. So don't throw a VoiceThread assignment at students create your VoiceThread. Here's the tool, here's the, how you get there. Now you're on your own. So, for example, this instructor started with an easy exercise of class introduction. She created a video of herself, introducing herself, and you already see, and then she asked her students to just add commentary. And by the way, she made a choice. They could type, they could speak, they could use the webcam to respond. And she said, I think, give me 3 sentences about yourself, something like that. By the way, another point, now actually VoiceThread has a tool where you can limit the length of commentary. So here's one thing when you use it, and I learned this the hard way, I teach as well. If you give them free reign, you might end up with a voice where you sit 2 hours to listen to everything. So VoiceThread learned that too, and you can now limit the length of spoken audio, for example. You can say up to 1 minute, and it will actually cut it off after a minute. And I tell my students this, and then I say, prepare your comment. Make sure you're not speaking longer. Okay, so that would be like an introductory way of using VoiceThread. Another one is introduce your syllabus, right? Like you upload your syllabus. I would, by the way, recommend taking screenshots of the syllabus. You see how it's kind of small type. It's hard to read. So you might want to just point to particular sections, and then the instructor talked over it. And this is also he put that in his Blackboard course site, and then had students ask questions on the VoiceThread about the syllabus. So you could also then point to areas in the syllabus and ask questions if they had any. A flipped math lesson where again, I don't want to play it. It's going to take too long, but he was actually going over a particular formula and was drawing on the screen while he was talking, laying out a formula, and then also had students ask questions. For language, at our school, a lot of language teachers use VoiceThread because you can, first of all, speak, right? And so students can listen to you, but then also students have to basically go through exercises where they have to speak. In online language classes, this is always a little bit of a challenge, right? How you speak. So VoiceThread is a nice tool for that. And VoiceThread actually in their library have a whole set of VoiceThreads where they model a little bit of what you can do in language classes. They also offer free workshops, and I see it every time. Like per semester, they have at least 2 for language teachers because it is such a useful tool for that. And then, of course, student presentations. I use this all the time in my classes. I teach fully online classes where I teach sociology, so my students do have to write a paper because that's what we do. But then they also present it in a VoiceThread, where I tell them you cannot upload your paper. Okay, you have to use other type of visuals to tell us what your paper is about and what were the main points. And remember when I said in the beginning to kind of incrementally, introduce VoiceThread. So I start also with the easy introduction exercise. Then I put in a slideshow where then they have to add commentary. So each one has a slide. And then we have we're actually doing this week, where we have a collaborative VoiceThread where I have them upload slides and do a short commentary, and then they're ready to create their own. So I try to just kind of slowly have them. It's also, there is like certain functionality, as intuitive as the tool is, knowing how to add a slide, it might just take another moment. Okay, VoiceThread is puny. There are so far 6 colleges, yes, that use VoiceThread, so who have the colleges who have license, and also use what we call an LTI in Blackboard. That means it's an easy way to integrate VoiceThread into Blackboard. And if you are at these colleges and are interested, please contact mostly the Blackboard administrators who will know. And then we just have a little bit of statistics at our colleges. I'll not touch on this, but there is training, and as I had talked before, there are free workshops available from VoiceThread. They also have a VoiceThread certification, by the way, where you can become a certified VoiceThread educator, I think they call it. And then there's also on this slide here a link to the digital library, what can be very helpful depending on what discipline you are in, to get some ideas of how others have used it. So, VoiceThread Bootcamp. Lena and I got together and created a 10-day fully online bootcamp, which lives in Blackboard. It is a Blackboard site, I'll show you in a second. And we ran it twice in spring and fall 2017. We're gonna keep running it, so this is just statistics for that. At the time we ran it, we had two sites, and the reason for that is we had a main workshop site where participants were students, basically. So we could rate them, and we would have a facilitator and participant interaction, and then we had a practice side where they were instructors and could actually practice. In the new iterations, we're trying to avoid that because it can be very confusing to people to having to switch between sides, especially if they show up in the same side of your Blackboard. So we're trying to avoid that. But again, if you want participants to actually practice, right, they need to be instructors in a course. So the course is about 7 to 12 hours of bootcamp activities. It's also it depends a little bit on your technologically literacy. Starts out with reviewing tutorials, but right away we started out the same way that we had an online discussion or an online introduction, VoiceThread, by the way. So we started out with practicing what we preached by using VoiceThread from the beginning. Then the workshop led up to participants creating their own VoiceThread presentations that was specific to their classes, so they could use it right away in their classes. I also want to just say this again. We had instructors. I mean, our school is mostly online, so our instructors were, fully online, teaching fully online classes. But from Lehman, we had hybrid teachers teaching hybrid, teachers teaching face to face, and everyone, created VoiceThread depending on the type of class they were teaching, and it was useful for all of them. The learning objectives, again, very, very much focused on practical skills and creating this kind of multimedia artifact that you can use right away. So just quickly, as I said, it's a Blackboard page, Blackboard site, easy to navigate, and again, trying to practice what we preach by making it, very the layout very clear, and then also using VoiceThread throughout for each of the exercises. Just a quick overview of the assignments. And we also try to make it so it has visuals in it. While I'm going through this, I'm just thinking about it. I should say one thing about VoiceThread. At my school, I'm also one of the people concerned about or teaching faculty about accessibility. And I don't know how many of you work with this or think about this in your teaching. And as much as I love these multimedia tools, a lot of them do have their limits when it comes to accessibility for everyone. VoiceThread does a good job trying to support people, especially if you're using screen readers, but you run into your limitations as soon as students start adding their media. As much as you might add captions to your video or add transcripts for your audio commentary, you basically cannot ask students to do the same, right? Then they could just type. And so I just want to say that when you create these very engaging and very exciting multimedia presentations, to kind of think a little bit about what challenges people with certain disabilities might have to access them, and maybe have ways of working around that. To first of all have alternative means for anything that you add that is audio video, right? So it could be accessed by a screen reader. And then making sure that whatever students add is not necessary for everyone to necessarily know and access who takes your class. Also, in the workshop, we had not a Q&A discussion board, but a Q&A VoiceThread. So we answered questions directly on VoiceThread and showcase the way, for example, you can see here how you can have threaded discussions, right? So this is a question, and then we answered with a threaded reply. So we were trying to showcase some of these features that VoiceThread has. So I'm sorry, I cannot see. How many minutes do I have left? 1 minute? Okay. I'll not play this either then. So just quickly, faculty examples from the bootcamp. I always love these last 2 days when we actually get the results, and it was really impressive. So we had coding instruction from one of our ISTA instructors, then presentation of social research work by students. I think she used this to have students present their ideas of what they want to do. So this was great because first of all, I also, I'm sure you noticed, like some students need inspiration of what they want to do. And so this is a neat way to see what others are doing and maybe getting some ideas, right? And you can make it short. Just give me an image and talk for 1 minute, right? Something like that. And then, you can also add your commentary to it, obviously, right? To respond and say, give some feedback. Accounting lecture presentation. So he used it really for a standard kind of PowerPoint presentation, adding a few things in where students could react and ask questions or add their own commentary. Okay, so just a few of comments here we got from faculty. Usually these boot camps, we call it boot camp for a reason. It's pretty intense, right? You're 10 days and you really have to spend about a day, an hour or two per day to do this, but then you come out with something, and I think it's just a technical skill also that you have after that that you can keep using in your teaching. One thing that I just about reflection and takeaway again, we're kind of reconsidering using 2 sites. That's basically one of the main things that we are thinking about, and we would recommend limiting the number of participants to 30 per session, just to it gives a nice diversity, but you can still pay individual attention. And of course, you also always have certain people that drop out, so it still gives you a number that is good to work with. Some resources from VoiceThread from us. There's also a webinar here, so if you go to the site where our presentation is listed, there's a 1-hour webinar that was done by VoiceThread with Lehman faculty. So if you are interested, you could even listen to this. And one of our faculty members has been a champion using VoiceThread and keeps writing blog posts for VoiceThread about his teaching practice. So this is a CUNY faculty member who has speaks about he's great. He's a champion, yes. So thank you very much. This was